Do you need a license to ride a motorbike in Thailand? As many of you would know who have traveled to Thailand in the past, you would notice that a lot of people do ride motorbikes without a license. And for practical purposes, yes, you can hire a motorbike. Usually all you need to provide is a copy of your passport or a cash deposit and you're normally good to go. So I guess the question then becomes, is it a good idea to hire or ride a motorbike in Thailand or any country for that matter without a license? So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to consider if you were planning to hire or ride a motorbike while in Thailand. Okay, so you've rocked up to the bike hire joint, you've shown your passport, you've paid some money, you maybe paid a deposit, you got a helmet, you got your bike and you're off. Things are looking good. What are the risks now? The first risk of riding without a license in Thailand is that you could well get pulled over by police and have to pay a fine. This happens regularly in places like Chiang Mai, other tourist centers in Thailand, where every now and then the police will set up a bit of a kind of roadblock and they'll pull over mainly tourists and check them for their license or an international driver's permit. And if they don't have it, they'll have to pay an on-the-spot fine. No one likes forking out cash for a fine, but the bigger risk is that you may get in an accident, you may cause injury to someone else or to yourself, or you may damage your motorbike or someone else's property. And then what are you going to do? You're going to get on the phone to your insurance provider and said, hey, I've been in a motorbike accident, I need you to step in and can you please cover these expenses? I've damaged someone else's vehicle or I've ended up in hospital with a broken leg, can you cover my medical expenses? Then what the insurance company is going to do, they're going to look and say, okay, well, yep, that's fine. We can see that your insurance policy has covered you for riding a motorbike overseas. Now we just need to see your driver's license, please. You're going to come into trouble there. The chances are your insurance policy will void, it will be cancelled if you cannot prove that you were driving legally in the country. So that means that you are licensed to drive in the country. Now, depending on the kind of accident you've been in, it could be, you might be out of pocket a few hundred, a few thousand. If you have been in a serious accident, you could be out hundreds of thousands of dollars. There have been cases of people who've been in serious vehicle accidents in Thailand and have required like an emergency evacuation back to their home country or to another country to see some kind of medical specialist that wasn't located in Thailand. And they just haven't had the money to do it, or they've had to go to family and then ask for all this money, and families have had to remortgage homes and that sort of thing. That is a very extreme example, but these things have happened. No one wants to end up in that position. Voiding your insurance probably is one of the biggest risks, but another thing you have to be wary of is that if you are inexperienced, or maybe you are experienced at home, but you're not experienced in driving around busy streets in somewhere like Bangkok, or maybe you're just used to riding dirt bikes, but you don't have much on-road experience. Riding in a different country, no matter where you're from, is going to be a very different driving experience. If you've ever been to Thailand or many countries in Asia, many other countries around the world outside the Western world, you will notice that driving habits and the driving culture is very different to what we might be used to in places like the US, Europe, or Australia. So even if you are experienced, even if you are licensed, you're not experienced in the place where you are riding if you're there on a holiday. So you just need to take things very carefully and make sure that you are comfortable riding around and doing what you're doing and not going into busy areas if you're not comfortable doing that. The other thing is you'll be riding a bike that you're not familiar with. You don't know how well serviced this bike is. Normally bikes are looked after pretty good in higher places, but you just don't know. So just be careful with the motorbike you're using as well until you get used to it. And even if you are very experienced yourself, you don't know how experienced the backpacker on the motorbike next to you is. There's a lot of people riding around in certain tourist towns, riding around, coming home from the pub, all kinds of stuff. You don't know if they've been drinking. You don't know how experienced they are. So you need to be extra careful. People tend to do things in foreign countries that they don't tend to do in their home country. Okay, so what are the solutions to making sure you're covered to legally ride a motorbike overseas? The first one is an international driver's permit. Now, these things don't cost that much. They're about, I believe, $49 currently in Victoria, in Australia. Most countries issue them. Most countries allow them to be used in their country, but not all countries, and they're usually valid for 1 year. That will be a temporary fix if you're going on holiday. But one thing you have to be very careful of if you're using an international driver's permit is it will only cover you for the license that you hold back home. So if you don't have a motorbike license back home, you're not covered to ride a motorbike in Thailand. And then depending on what state you come from, using Australia as an example, some states will allow you to ride a 50cc scooter or moped on a normal car license, but you need to look at the rules with your own state and your own country. But if you were covered to ride a 50cc scooter in Australia on your car license, that means you can't go to a hire shop in Chiang Mai and rent out a 125 scooter. You can only legally ride up to a 50cc if that's all you're covered for back in your home country. So to be fully covered and fully legal, you need to have a motorbike license in your home country for the international driver's permit to legally enable you to use that overseas. Another thing is to always wear a helmet. I'm not talking about being safe here. You can make your own decisions about your safety, but what I'm mainly referring to here is an insurance company will look at the fine detail, as I went over above, when they're assessing an insurance claim. If they find that you weren't wearing a helmet, that could also void your insurance policy and you will get nothing. So make sure before you do anything that you have a good understanding of what is required for your insurance cover to be eligible. Wearing a helmet will often be a required component of an insurance policy. Going to Thailand on a holiday is one thing. If you're looking to move over there for the longer term, the better solution is to get a local driver's license. This will allow you to get a lot better treatment out on the roads if you get pulled over by police. It is a better form of ID that is recognized in Thailand, being a Thailand issued license, and it will just work out better for you if you're staying in Thailand for the medium to longer term. If you are interested in getting a driver's license in Thailand, talk to us and we can put you in touch with the people to get that for you. So wrapping up the video here, guys, I'm not trying to put anyone off riding a motorbike in Thailand. Riding a motorbike in Thailand is a lot of fun. I would really recommend you get out there and do it if you are comfortable riding a bike and if you are insured and licensed correctly. Now, there are some really good driving routes in the country. One that I did in the north of Thailand, which is quite well known to people who have been to Chiang Mai, is the Mae Hong Son Loop. This is a 3 to 4 day loop that takes you up around the high country, the hills around the Burmese border. It is a fantastic ride, and it is the kind of ride that will really make you fall in love with motorcycling. You don't need to take much with you, just take a few days' clothes, you can strap it to the back of your bike and set off. I really enjoyed it when I did it. Even if you don't want to set off on a multi-day adventure, having a motorbike for most people is the easiest way to get around any city like Chiang Mai, or maybe you're in Pattaya or Phuket. It doesn't really matter. Having a motorbike generally is the easiest way to get around. If you're looking for a way to get around and you're not feeling confident on a motorbike, you still can get around quite well on a bicycle in many places. Chiang Mai in particular is very bicycle friendly, particularly in the old city square. If you're inside the gates there, inside the moat, you can get around very easily on your bicycle to anywhere in that old city, and you're not really going to come across any serious traffic in the old city, not until you get outside of the moat anyway. And of course, you can always walk or get a taxi. There's always plenty of ways to get around. There might even be public transport, depending on where you are. So that's it for the video, guys. I didn't want to make this to be preachy to people about what they should do in other countries. I just wanted to make this video to give people a bit of an idea of the things they should be thinking about, because often, especially when people take off overseas for the first time, they're doing things that they wouldn't normally do. They think they might be okay to hire a bike because everyone else is, but you just have to understand that there are definitely risks involved if you're not licensed and if you're not insured to be doing that. If you've got anything you'd like to add to the conversation, feel free to write a comment down below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll catch you later.